Welcome to another installment of Deconstructing Babylon, where we discern the signs and symbols of the mystery religion of Hollywood Babylon. I'm the Discerning Clerk, and I use a biblical framework to deconstruct my favorite movies. I'm so grateful for each person here, especially if you watch to the end to hear my final thoughts. Obviously, that helps push my content out to more like-minded people, but more than that, it encourages me to know that I'm not alone, that there are others out there who aren't being deceived by the worldly systems. As always, everything I say here is just my opinion, and I never want you to take my word for it, but to know the word for yourself. Read your Bible for yourself from the beginning. Allow the Spirit to teach you what it all means, for these days of peace are running out. As you know, today's selection is Pretty Woman, and frankly, I was surprised at myself that it's taken me this long to deconstruct this early 90s romantic drama. This version that has become so well known and helped launch star Julia Roberts into celebrity status is not the same story that the original script meant to tell. First, let's see what the Video Movie Guide has to say. Pretty Woman is given 4 stars, and they write, "Imagine Cinderella as a young Hollywood hooker. Now put Prince Charming in a fancy sports car driving down the strip. Welcome to this fluffy, funny comedy about the unlikeliest of love mates, a runaway, Julia Roberts, and a corporate raider, Richard Gere. Rated R." Well, this movie may have a few light and funny moments, but that's really to balance the otherwise dark and heavy themes. From what I understand, this was initially written not as a love story, but as a real gritty look at life on Hollywood Boulevard. And the focus was more on the friendship between Vivian and her roommate Kit, who was deathly ill. But Hollywood doesn't want to show how awful it truly is, sucking the very life out of its inhabitants. So it was changed to this Cinderella story, though it's not really like that either. Let's see what they decided to show us in Pretty Woman. The movie begins at a posh party. A sleight of hand magician entertaining guests really sets the tone for what we're about to watch. The party host is Philip Stuckey, legal counsel to the yet unseen corporate raider, Edward Lewis.
Hey, where's the guest of honor anyway?
Now we meet the stoic and serious Edward, on the phone with Jessica, a lady we never meet because she's breaking up with Edward and lives in New York. Our story takes place in Los Angeles, where the beautiful people live, and Edward already speaks about going home to New York, as he plans to leave the party where he's the guest of honor.
He's leaving. Edward's leaving.
He doesn't just leave the party, he takes Philip's expensive sports car. As Edward gets lost in Hollywood, we meet Vivian Ward. Well, sort of. We first see her nearly naked body as she gets up and ready for work for the night. And even though we're in LA, we still get a pointer to 9/11 on the alarm clock.
What's your dream? Hey, mister, hey!
Vivian heads to the Blue Banana Club to find her friend and roommate Kit DeLuca and confront her about missing rent money.
Can't believe you bought drugs with our rent. What is going on with you, kid?
Kit and Vivian take to the streets as Edward pulls up in Philip's car. Of course, Edward doesn't mean to hire a prostitute. He's just lost and struggling with the high-performance machine. So Vivian offers assistance for a price.
For 20, I'll show you personal. Even show you where the stars live.
I never thought of this before, but I wonder how Vivian knows where the stars live. Could it be she's been procured by certain celebrities? Doubtful, but just a thought. This version is giving some scenes I've never watched before, including one in which Vivian defends her chosen vocation to Edward.
I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do.
Edward and Vivian finally arrive in Beverly Hills at Edward's posh hotel. And the story could end here if they part ways, but we're just getting started. So Edward invites Vivian to his room. He has no problem being seen with this lady of the night. Perhaps he thinks his money gives him amnesty from judgment, or maybe he doesn't care what the hotel staff and guests think of him. Either way, the loud, brash, outspoken prostitute comes to the penthouse of the Regent Beverly Wilshire for $100 an hour.
You're kidding me. I come here all the time. As a matter of fact, they do rent this room by the hour.
Sure they do.
Edward and Vivian don't really have any sexual chemistry between them. No spark, no tension. In fact, it's pretty awkward. When room service comes in, I couldn't help but notice the chessboard setup, which we know is placed on a black and white board.
What are you looking at? What is he looking at?
After Edward has asked Vivian to spend the night with him, the main reason seems to be off the table. Vivian gets comfortable watching an old sitcom, and this is what Edward suddenly finds appealing.
What do you want?
What do you do?
Everything. But I don't kiss on the mouth.
In the light of the next day, Vivian seems more timid and Edward seems more confident.
You must be really smart, huh?
At the advice of his lawyer, Philip, Edward decides to ask Vivian to be his escort at some business functions for the week, and his affection for her seems to grow as she sings a Prince song. It may as well be a Madonna or Elvis Presley song. It would have the same meaning.
Don't you just love Prince?
More than life itself.
They come to a deal for $3,000 for 6 days and nights. Originally, the film was titled $3,000 as the amount of money required for Kit's medical needs, but as it was written, the friends spent it on a last trip to Disneyland instead.
3,000 for 6 days. And Vivian, I will let you go.
Edward wants Vivian to get some new clothes for various outings, and she goes to Rodeo Drive to do some shopping. This is, of course, a memorable and iconic moment when Vivian is brutally judged for her appearance.
I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place. Please leave.
She returns to the hotel angry and embarrassed, where she meets the hotel manager, Barnard Thompson. This man doesn't reject Vivian or throw her out, but rather helps her and is kind to her.
I'm sending someone over. Her name is Vivian. She's a special guest.
Edward is an acquisition specialist, the rich guy who buys defunct companies and then sells them for parts for a profit. He and his team, including Philip, have been long working on a big deal to acquire long-standing Morse Industries.
Listen, everything all set for the meeting?
Edward and a cleaned-up Vivian go to dinner with senior and junior Morse men, the owners of the company Edward is trying to acquire.
Mr. Lewis, if you were to get control, and I don't think you will, but if you did, what do you plan to do with the company?
It's a tense conversation between the parties with some angry accusations, but Vivian is so preoccupied with the silverware and table etiquette. Back at the hotel, they both find some similarities in their very different lines of work.
You and I are such similar creatures, Vivian. We both screw people for money.
Speaking of screwing people for money, Vivian finds Edward alone in the lobby restaurant, and they are intimate on the piano. The piano is another symbol of duality, with the black and white keys, and the couple are both wearing black and white. The next day, Edward takes Vivian shopping, and this time is a much more positive experience with her sugar daddy with her.
We're going to be spending an obscene amount of money in here.
And like all 90s movies worth their salt, we get a fun, fashionable montage set to the titular song.
Who ordered pizza?
Well, here's a symbol I haven't yet discussed. Maybe I've missed it in past deconstructions, but it's definitely something I see social media truthers talk about a lot. Pizza is a code word for sex with minors. And a ton of celebrities use this code word often. Now, this doesn't necessarily come up again, and it could be perfectly benign, especially since there are no children in this film, thankfully. But maybe Vivian is still young enough to be considered a minor. Or maybe she started turning tricks when she was still a child. Maybe it's a nod to the sex trade in general. Or maybe it's just pizza.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
Edward is beginning to change his mind about the way he does business, revealing his desire for power and money stems from being angry with his father for deserting the family.
We're talking about 88 inches of therapy wrapped around you for the bargain price of $3,000.
They talk about the $3,000 a lot, rightfully so, given the initial intention of the story. But this 88 inches means something too. 88 references the sun and moon in their courses, as they both make double infinity signs in the sky. Edward and Vivian attend a polo match for another business event. This is where Philip finally meets the mystery woman who has Edward so captivated and even distracted. And this is the second time I've noticed Vivian wearing white gloves, a clear nod to the master Freemason ceremonies and required garb.
Kings and queens used to do this.
Edward confesses to Philip who Vivian is and how they met. And this amuses Philip, but maybe also gives him some leverage against them.
Don't worry, your secret is safe with me.
Vivian is so disturbed by this interaction, she threatens to leave Edward without the $3,000. We get the briefest mirror symbolism with Edward, perhaps pointing to a softer side of him as the two tentatively make up. Edward takes Vivian out to the opera, for once, not for business. And what do you know, Vivian is wearing white gloves again.
Did you enjoy the opera, dear?
Oh, it was so good I almost peed my pants.
Back at the hotel, she removes the white gloves and they sit down for a game of chess. How very symbolic. Straight from the dual chessboard to dual towers. Of course, these aren't the twin towers, but come on. They know what they're doing. Their fight seems to be a turning point in their relationship, as the two enjoy each other's company, growing in trust and admiration for each other.
I love you.
Their last day together arrives, and Edward makes arrangements for Vivian to be a kept woman. He's not necessarily offering a relationship, but provision and security.
Vivian, what is it you want?
Edward leaves to close the deal with Morse Industries, and Vivian's roommate, Kit, shows up at the hotel. The friends talk about Vivian's feelings and her options with Edward.
Maybe you guys could, like, get a house together and, like, buy some diamonds and a horse. I don't know. Anyway.
And now is where we get the comparison to Cinderella that we saw in the synopsis. Meanwhile, Edward also speaks about his feelings and options, not toward Vivian, but regarding his business with the senior Morse.
Mr. Lewis and I are going to build ships together. Great big ships.
This change in his business venture could potentially mean Edward moves coast from New York to Los Angeles, and he could be with Vivian. But the way it stands, Vivian isn't really satisfied with simply being kept for Edward.
I want the fairy tale.
So Vivian leaves with her new wardrobe, the $3,000, and hopefully some new goals for her life.
Get a job, finish high school. I got things I can do, I used to make pretty good grades in high school.
In fact, she does plan to leave immediately the next day, and Edward stops her just in time. He brings her the fairy tale ending she's always dreamt of.
This is Hollywood, land of dreams.
I saw a post I made a few years ago come up in my memories, and this one was about Pretty Woman. In the post, I spoke about the original story that was more focused on Kit and her illness, and I compared this story to a loose retelling of My Fair Lady, which seems to align more than with Cinderella. Now, I'm not going to dwell on the original script and the massive changes made anymore, because this is ultimately the movie they presented, and which became insanely popular. I pointed out all the duality, Freemason references, and even counterfeit Twin Towers. The duality showed up in the chessboard, the clothing, the characters, and even the cities. Because again, even though we were in LA, Edward was from New York. Besides black and white, we also saw sun and moon duality within Vivian's character. At first, she is the moon. We meet her at night, her blonde wig resembling the full moon, wearing blue and white. By the next morning, she is the sun. Her red hair is exposed, and she never wears blue again. She herself represents the Freemason secret societies, wooing Edward to worship, tempting him, his money and power to pour into her. Her initials are VW, Vivian Ward, but the double V's in her first name together make a W, which gives us WW33 when turned on their side. Okay, that one might be a stretch. But when I examined initials, Edward Lewis is clearly EL, L. El is God in Hebrew. He represents the Most High God, the rich, powerful man, away from his own, displaced yet determined. His business is his mission, and Vivian takes him away from it, distracts him from his initial purpose, and confuses him about his choices. Other than perhaps being lonely, Edward doesn't really seem like a damaged person in need of rescuing, as Vivian claims in the end. Yet neither is she in need of rescuing. She will thrive under his care, provision, and partnership, but I don't get the impression that she would stay on the streets forever. Did she really just need a week away and a makeover to save her? The last thing I want to discuss quickly is the $3,000 and 6 days. Because of how often it was said in the same sentence, this has some meaning, and I believe it is pointing to 3 sixes, or 666, the number of a man. And this mark only serves to remind us all who is the mind behind Hollywood, the enemy of our souls that seeks to deceive us all, but wants the credit for it. So that's enough for today. Thank you for enduring to the end. Give the video a thumbs up if you agree and a thumbs down if you disagree. Comment below what you think I missed with this one and to suggest any movie you'd like me to deconstruct in the future. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content like this, but don't follow me. Follow the one who saves you. And until next time, keep looking up.
Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet, pretty woman.
I can do anything I want to, baby. I ain't lost.